Hi, my name is Becky Draper, and today we are going to do our yoga practice based on trying to release trapped emotions from the body. So you've probably heard people talk about emotions being stuck in the body, and some scientists and experts believe that these emotions actually get stuck in the fascia layers. And fascia is this kind of like netting that wraps around the entire body. So it wraps around every bone, every muscle, every organ, and it's basically what kind of holds everything in place and holds everything together. And it's kind of made up of this like gray, gooey matter. And so a lot of the times we kind of have learned to just like focus on the muscles or focus on the joints and things like that, but we haven't really put a lot of emphasis on these fascia layers, which are supposedly where these emotions can get trapped. And so today we're going to dig around into these different layers and notice what kind of feelings come up as we dig into these layers. And as those feelings come up, the idea is you want to feel them. So that's how we release the emotion from the body, is that we complete the cycle. So first we have the emotion, then it gets trapped somewhere, and then by filling out that emotion, that's how the cycle completes itself, and then the emotion is released. And so that's all you have to do, is just simply sit and feel what's happening. Oftentimes, our mind and body will try to protect us from pain, and so it will distract us from having that feeling. And so, or even like try to hide where that feeling is stuck in the body so that we can't even like feel that spot to even feel the pain. So today is all about digging in and allowing ourselves to, instead of thinking it through, just sitting and feeling it. So if you want to take a nice comfortable seat, close the eyes. First, start just by scanning the body and noticing any areas that feel tight or tense. And as you notice the tension, see if you can use your breath in a way that helps soften and relax. So oftentimes I'll notice that my shoulders are drawing towards my ears, so you can just relax them down. Another thing I'll notice is my belly will feel tense. See if you can just relax the belly. And then begin to track whatever's happening internally. Oftentimes we'll start to tell ourselves stories about however we're feeling. And notice if you do that, and if so, maybe try, instead of telling yourself some sort of story about that feeling, just let that feeling be whatever it is. My tendency is to try to fix it. So if I feel bad, I want to fix that feeling, which keeps me from actually feeling what's happening. So instead of thinking that you have to fix anything or change anything, just allow whatever is there to exist. And then keep tracking that story. Do you start to add a story to it? Like, I feel this way because. It doesn't matter why you feel that way. Just allow yourself to feel that way. Good. And we're going to start our practice by bringing our hands over our heart. We're just going to gently pull down on this like fascia layer that kind of covers the chest. So just going to gently tug it down, and then we're going to start by doing some neck rolls. So go either direction. We're going to go both ways. Let's start by bringing the ear to the shoulder and then slowly going around. Now, oftentimes when we do our neck rolls, we start going really fast. See if you can go really slow and get really curious about what is tight in there. So as you go, if you find a tight spot, you could sit there for a minute, kind of rock it back and forth. Oftentimes as we find tension, we might notice a feeling come up. Just kind of keep going at your own pace. When you get to the back of the neck, instead of just crunching down on the spine, see if you can keep a little bit of length there. Good. And then go the other way. Again, remember, we're not trying to do this fast. We're trying to go really slow and maybe discover some tight areas that you didn't even know were there. And if you get to a spot where you can't feel anything, maybe that's even more interesting. Maybe you stick there for a minute and try to find a line of tension, because that could be your body trying to hide that particular emotion from you. Good. And bring your head to center. And then now we're going to take our hands more towards that right shoulder. Pull towards the right as you take your head to the left. And then this time, just kind of dig around by doing little micro movements with your chin. Just keeping that head to the left, but the little chin doing like small circles. Really good. And then now take the hands to the left, the head comes to the right. Same thing, just taking little micro movements. Notice how little movements might change how you feel in the body. Really good. And then come back to center. And then now we're going to take our hand out to the right. First, flex that hand up like this. And then take your head to the left. And this will create a different stretch that you didn't get maybe the last time. And then now to kind of play around with the stretch, you can do the little micro movements with your chin, while at the same time maybe moving this hand around a little bit. Maybe the hand turns more towards flexing to the back or down, or maybe the arm goes back a little bit. And just kind of noticing if you can find different lines of tension. If you get somewhere that's really tense, maybe sit there and play with it for a minute and let it release. Really good. And then come back to center. Now that left hand comes up, flex that arm. You might already notice lines along the bottom of that arm that's kind of starting to release tension. Take the head to the right and play. Feel free to just explore any kind of movement. I like to take my hand and flex it back, pull it back, and then remember to breathe deep and exhale all the way. Really good. And then come back to center. Now we're going to plant the right hand down on your floor or your mat, wherever you're at, and then take the left arm up and over. And as the left arm comes over, I want you to really ground into that left hip, and then push into this right-handed ton so that we get these left ribs to lift a little bit higher. And then again, play a little bit. Maybe you round in, maybe you open up. For me, the more I ground into that left sit bone, the more I feel this stretch in my little hip flexor side area down there that gets really tight for me. But you might have a different area of tightness. We all hold our tension in different spaces. And then notice if you're giving your brain starting to tell you some sort of story about how you feel, and see if instead of going down that rabbit hole, you can just be in the body and feel and experience whatever's happening. Hi, baby. All right, now we're gonna plant our left hand down, and the right hand will come up and over, and then really ground into that right sit bone this time. Push into the left hand, reach that right arm up and over, and then maybe round in a little bit. For me, when I round in, I get in the back of my shoulders. If you find, again, something that's kind of tight, maybe you sit with it for a minute. Take nice, long, deep breaths. Really good. And then come back to center. Okay, now we're going to do some Sufi grains. So again, go either direction you want to go. We'll go both ways. So let's just start by rounding the back, almost like you're doing a cat from a cat-cow, and then you're gonna kind of grind and circle the pelvic floor, but go really slow, just like we did with our neck rolls, and try to fill into these spaces. For me, my lower back gets so tight that the surrounding just feels so good. And when I come this way, I want to really keep my core in so I don't overarch my lower back. If you're more of a lower back rounder, this might be more of the space that opens up and feels good. And when you round this way, maybe you don't need to do it as much. So kind of just noticing what your body's tendencies are and working with it. Good. And then go the other way. This is like massaging all of those organs. Another way you could think of it is it's like your tailbone is stirring the pelvic bowl, massaging. If you feel something, just let it be whatever it is. Good. And then come back to center. All right, now let's come onto our hands and knees. I'm going to move my thing out of the way. All right, so let's come onto our hands and knees, and we're gonna do cat-cows here. Start by spreading the fingers out wide so that the middle finger is pointing forward. Push into the fingers until you see the part right above the knuckle turn white. So we really know that we're using our hands. Push into the knees, and then push down and round up like cat. And then on your inhale, begin to arch up like cow. Keep the core drawing in so you don't bend so much in the middle of the back and you bend a little bit more behind the shoulder blades in the heart. And then pushing down, round back up, exhale. Deep inhale, come back into cat. And then you could start to kind of move around any way your body is asking. Sometimes I do these little like circular cat-cows. If you get into a cat and you want to stay there for a minute and rock around, or maybe you get into a cow and you want to try to open the heart a little more. Really good. And then come back into a neutral spine. So I want you to push into the hands, push into the knees, and then see if you can draw the core in and find a neutral flat back. Really good. Now we're going to lift the right leg up and do these little hip rolls. I'm rolling forward first, but we're going to go both ways. So either one is fine, doesn't matter. Maybe do 3 one way and then go back the other way and do 3. This is kind of like clearing out the hip joint, all of the stuff that gets like sticky and gooey. So fascia, if it's not used, it'll start to kind of settle in and create kind of like a sticky membrane. Okay, now we're gonna open up the left. Really rotating the foot all the way around, other way. Really good. Last time. All right, plant that foot down. Now we're gonna come up into a knee stand. If you have a strap handy, grab that. You could always use a sock, a belt, a dish towel, whatever you have on hand. Or if you're really flexible, you can just use your hands. So what we're gonna do, I'm gonna turn this way just so you can see my hands in the back. You're gonna take your strap. I like to go a little bit wider than my hips. And then you're gonna take your thumbs and turn them towards your back and then away, and then start pulling the strap apart. Then I want you to drop the shoulders down the back as you draw your core in, and then we're gonna roll the neck again. And this kind of gets into some of these front pectoral areas. Keep that core drawing in so you're not arching a ton in your lower back. We don't want our ribs popping out a ton. We want to pull the core in so that the ribs can stay down and we can actually focus on broadening and opening in the collarbone. Maybe take nice long deep breaths. Really good. And then let go. Now, we're going to take the right leg, and just like we were doing with those hip rolls, see if you can lift the hip up, bring it forward, maybe do a little toe touch and then bring it back and around. One more time, up, around, forward, plant the foot down. Okay, good. Now we're gonna plant down the right foot, back knee, and then drag them towards each other. So it's like this pulling in energy. As you pull in, pull the core in, bring the right hand to the right hip, reach that left arm up and over. And then again, you could play here a little bit. You don't have to just like get there and hold. You could round in a little bit, open up a little bit, and then round over like you're rounding over a ball. And then left hand comes to left hip, right arm reaches up and over. Good, keep pushing into that front foot, back knee, dragging them towards each other. Really good, and then come back to center. Okay, bring the hands down, and then we're gonna draw the left glute back as you grab your left foot. And we're gonna go for a little quad stretch here. If you want, you can just keep one hand on that foot, squeeze that left glute just a little bit, and then push that left foot into the left hand and kind of peel back the shoulder. If you keep a small bend in that left elbow, it'll kind of help pull the shoulder back a little bit. Really good. Keep dragging the left knee forward a little bit, squeezing the left glute, and then kicking that foot back into the left hand. Really good. And then let go, unwind. Now we're gonna do this leg, lifting it up, around, and down. If you need to put a blanket under your knees, please do so. And then now I have two paddings here, so I'm feeling pretty good about it. But if you need a cushion, I highly recommend it. Now we're gonna lift the left leg up, around, toe touch, up, around, and back, up, around, and plant that left foot. Good, so plant the left foot down, right knee, drag them towards each other. Left hand comes to left hip, reach. Good, and then like you're rounding over a ball. Yeah. Really good. And back to center. Hands come forward. Draw that right sit bone back, grab the right foot, and then come up for the quad stretch. I get a lot of tension. It feels like there's a lot happening in my quads. Okay, small bend in right elbow. Squeeze right glute, drag right knee forward, kick right foot back into right hand. And draw core in. And see if you can just let all of that stuff on the front of the body just melt away. Notice if anything comes up. Also notice if you're just thinking. The thinking mind will try to distract us from what's actually happening in the present moment, what's happening in the body, or from feeling. So the thinking mind can take a break right now. And just we're gonna allow it to let us get deeper into what's happening internally. All right, good, let go. Okay, we're gonna lift left leg back up, around, and down. All right, good. Bring the hands down to the ground, push up into down dog. In your down dog, I'm gonna go this way so you can see me better. I want you to notice if your head is way behind your arms. This is kind of like being closed off from the world. Like, oh, I'm in a down dog. And what I want you to do is look and see if you can see your arms. Okay, I see my arms. Now, I'm gonna pull my head forward. This kind of opens up my heart more. And if I look to the side now, I can't see my arms. My head's like out of my trapped cage. And I'm more free and open now. When I'm like this, I'm rounding in my shoulders and I'm closed off from life. And then when I'm like this, you can see that my shoulders aren't rounding and that my heart is more open. All right, really good. Hop or step your feet to the front of the mat, Uttanasana. Good. And in your forward fold, put a small bend in your knees. Grab your elbows, push into the feet. Legs are strong, then just allow the upper body to dangle over the legs. You can go side to side. Good, and then one vertebrae at a time. See if you can roll the body all the way up to standing. Tadasana. Really good. Now take a minute, look down at your feet. Notice if they're actually pushing down or not. And see if you can push all four corners of the feet into the mat so the feet are active. And notice as the feet are active, do you feel the muscles around the ankles start to tighten and strengthen? Now stop pushing into the feet. Just kind of like notice the difference. Probably feel a little more collapsed. Now push into the feet. See if the spine lifts a little bit. And then notice if the muscles around the ankle kind of tighten. Good, now we're gonna ground into this right foot. Lift the left leg up. And just like we were doing in our table, we're going to lift the leg around, a little hip roll, and you're gonna take that left leg back and behind. Good. Now bring the arms up. You could actually take your left hand or your right hand to that left wrist, pull the core in, pull the ribs down, and then start to pull that left arm to the right and get a nice yummy stretch here. And you could even like round in a little bit, open up, just kind of playing around. Make sure you're really pushing into that left foot and that right foot so you have this strong foundation. All right, really good. Now we're gonna lift the left leg back up and roll it back in. Good, now we're gonna cross the left leg over the right leg. We're gonna sit back into standing pigeon. When we're in balancing poses, oftentimes this is where the mind will really start to get active. See if you can practice calming the mind down. Push into all four corners of the right foot. As you push down, try to get the left sit bone to lift a little higher and imagine yourself blossoming the booty out. Really good. Drop the left foot down, fold forward. Inhale, bring the hands to the top of the thighs. Push the thighs back as you lengthen the spine forward. Pull the shoulders down the back. Draw the core in. Exhale, fold forward. And this time, instead of rolling up, I want you to hinge up at the hips. So you're gonna put a little bend in the knee, really push that booty out. It's almost like you're doing like a deadlift. You're gonna keep the back straight, almost like if you had a pull on your back. And you're gonna come all the way up to standing. Really good. Okay, again, look down at the feet. Ground into all four corners of the feet. Small bend in the knees. And now we're gonna ground into that left foot as we lift the right leg up, around, cross it over, and behind. Good, really pushing into that right foot, left foot, pull the ribs in, core draws in, left hand to right wrist. Really good, and you can play here for a minute. Finding different lines of tension. So as we release the fascia In the body, we also tell the nervous system to relax more. Fun fact. Okay, now we're coming back, other way. So now lift, right leg comes up, around. If it's hard, it's okay. Notice if the mind gets mad that you can't do it perfectly, and see if instead you can just be playful and lighthearted and just have fun with it. Now push into the left foot, get that right sit bone to lift higher, blossom that booty out, and note trying to get this stretch on the inner hamstrings here. And if you fall over, it's okay. All right, and then bring the right foot down, forward fold. Inhale, bring the hands to the top of the thighs. Push the thighs back, lengthen the spine forward. Exhale, fold forward, and then step back into plank. Drop the knees down. Then we're gonna lower halfway, push back up, lower halfway, push back up, lower halfway, push back up. Last time, lower all the way down. Take the tops of the feet, squeeze the big toe and heel together, push the feet down, knees down, hips down. So the strong legs, your foundation is there. Roll the shoulders down the back, push up into a baby cobra. Only go about halfway. Really notice if you're pushing into the fingers, keep the feet pushing down, and then take your hands and drag them towards you like you're gonna pull yourself out of your pants. And then push up a little more, trying to bend a little bit more behind the shoulder blades rather than the middle of the back. Good, exhale, fold down. Push back into down dog. Or grab a sip of water. Okay. Now in down dog. Notice if your tendency is to tuck your head back behind your arms and be in your turtle shell. And if it is, wiggle the head out of the turtle shell and free the head from being trapped behind the arms. This keeps you out of rounding in the shoulders. Right leg lifts up, right leg comes all the way forward, and then come up into a high runner's lunge. I'm gonna come this way now. Really good. Pushing into the front foot, pushing into the back foot, bring the right hand to the right hip, and reach. And then round over your ball, other way. Good. And come back, round over your ball. Very nice. Come to center. Bring your hands into cactus and then gently start to twist to the right. Just pulling that core in. Really good. Come back to center. Now we're going to drop the back knee down and then come onto the heel of the front foot. And then what we're gonna do is as we lengthen, as we straighten the front foot, we're gonna lengthen that right sit bone back and go forward. And then back. And go back and forth at your own pace. As you come forward, I want you to really imagine yourself pulling this right sit bone back. And then come back up. And again. And back up. Good, this time we're gonna come forward and hold, bringing the hands down to the mat. You could always grab a block if you have a block. If you have 2 blocks, even better. And now, we're gonna take this front foot and kind of play with, if we go this way, do you feel that stretch this side more? Maybe the foot turns in, you feel something a little different. I feel that more on the back of my shin. And just practice allowing these different lines of tension to move through you, just completing the cycle. And if emotions come up, don't put a story to it like I feel this way because blank. It doesn't matter why you feel it. It's just about feeling it. You don't have to make it into something bigger than it is or even understand it. All you have to do is allow for yourself to feel. All right, really good. Now, plant your hands down, plant that right foot down, and then you're gonna kick the back leg up into standing splits. Really good. Now, I'm gonna turn this way so you can see better. Keeping that right foot planted like a lever, kind of like the deadlifts. I want you to keep the back leg straight, spine straight, and try to come all the way up. Good, now you're gonna sit back. Oh wait, no, actually let's start by lifting that left hip up, over, around, and behind. Yeah, I'm getting that yummy stretch. And then go the other way. Hip lifts up, around, forward. Sit back. Good, you could stay just like this, or you could grab a block, or maybe you don't even need a block, and just round forward. And as you do this, remember, push into that right foot, get the left hip to lift higher. Imagine yourself really broadening the sit bones out. If you're like someone behind you, you're trying to really moon them, show them like the fullness of your booty. Oh, all right, good. And then bring the left foot down, fold forward. Inhale, bring the hands to the top of the thighs. Push the thighs back, lengthen the spine forward. Exhale, fold forward. And then step back into down dog. Good. Now notice your tendency. Use your head back behind your arms. Really becoming aware of some of the habits that we have or that we do on autopilot, and bringing light to that and trying to change maybe some of those things. Okay, lift that left foot up. Left foot comes to the front of the mat. Ground into that left foot. Come all the way up into a high runner's lunge. So just a side note, you might have your left heel drop down because you're trying to do like a warrior one. This is really hard for the hips. So, especially if we haven't like really warmed them up, I suggest coming up onto the ball of the back foot, which gives you a lot more flexibility in the hips here. So instead of putting your focus on weird hip alignment, you can just put your focus on getting that deeper stretch in quads. Really good. Left hand comes to left hip, right arm comes up and reach. And then round over your ball. And again, rounding over the ball, center, hands come into cactus, start to twist. Keep pushing into the feet. You can even imagine yourself dragging them towards each other, feeling that pulling in energy. Good, come back to center. Right knee comes down, come onto that left heel, and then hands come up. And as you bow forward, keeping the heart lifted, don't round, keep that heart lifted, drag that left sit bone back. And then come back up, and back. And going back up, and back. Good, last time. As soon as you pull back, you grab your block. And then again, we're going to first start by digging that left heel down, dragging that left sit bone back, and then taking the feet side to side. Yeah, finding those different stretches. Maybe you haven't felt some of these ligaments in here and nerves that get kind of pulled. And then noticing if it triggers maybe an emotion. And then just allow that emotion to be whatever it's going to be. All right, really good. Move the block, plant that left foot down, hands plant down, right leg lifts up. Standing splits. Now, just like the deadlifts or like a lever, keeping that right leg straight, back straight. Come on, the way up. Good, now we're gonna lift that right leg, opening up the hip joints, step back, and reach, keeping the ribs drawing in, so that you feel the stretch all one side. You can play a little bit, coming back the other way, so it comes up, goes down, crosses over, and it's okay to like fall over or whatever, or just struggle with this in general. Okay, now push into the left foot. Get that right sit bone to lift a little more, and if you want, you could round over. I'm really struggling with this side. And fold forward. Really good. Push into the left foot. Get that right sit bone to lift higher. And round it. All right, bring the foot down. Fold forward. Inhale, bring hands to the top of the thighs. Push the thighs back, lengthen the spine forward. Exhale, fold forward. All right, good. And then step back into down dog. Drop the knees down. Maybe grab a block or a cushion and just sit back for a minute. Close the eyes and just track whatever's happening internally. Noticing how you feel now compared to the beginning of your practice. Taking a minute to check in. And then instead of adding that story to it or doing your to-do list or letting the mind distract you from feeling, try to just be present with whatever's there. You don't have to fix it or change it. All right, good. We're gonna do one little last round of poses. So let's come back into our standing knee stand. And then lift that right leg up, around, toe touch, and then back and around. And then one more time, up, around, toe touch. And then this time we're gonna take the leg out to the right. So it's like we're in this modified warrior two. Really good. Now we're gonna take the right forearm to the right thigh. Really push the forearm in, push down into the feet and the knees, and then reach that left arm up and over. You could also keep moving here a little bit, finding different lines of tension. Good, left hand comes to left hip, right arm reaches over. Really good. Take a block if you have one, if not, no big deal. Plant the right hand or the block down, and then you're gonna push up into half moon. Small bend in that right knee, so you can push into all four corners of the right foot. And then as you push down, try to lift that left leg higher as you open the hips, more parallel to whatever wall. There is a wall in front of you. Very good, now we're gonna come all the way back down into the same lunge we were in before. Good, now this time we're gonna take that right leg and we're gonna cross it over the left leg. And then you're gonna take the feet out to the side, and then we're gonna sit back into cow face. Good. Now what happens oftentimes, as I said before, the body will kind of try to keep us from feeling certain pain. And so it'll kind of like cheat a little bit. So I want you to notice wherever you sat down at, maybe you're sitting a little bit more towards your left foot, or maybe you're more towards your right foot. Just kind of notice, I'm more towards my left foot. That's probably gonna be all of our tendencies, but some of us might be a little different. And so what I want you to do is lift your sit bones up and move them so your sit bones are more in between the left heel and right heel. And then notice if that changes it just a little bit. It might make it a little bit more intense. If this is too intense, you could sit up on a block as well, kind of like, or you could always just pull this leg up like that, so it's not this way, you know. Adjust as needed. All right, good. Now, we're gonna plant that right foot down, bring the left arm up and over. Go the other way. Really good. Come back to center and then start to walk the fingers forward. And then just find a space that's kind of intense and just sit there. So the hips are our junk drawer of the emotions. It's where we hold a lot of the stuff. And so there might be a lot of things that kind of start to come up and surface. And if they come up and it's like, yeah, this is reminding me of an experience I had in childhood or whatever, again, acknowledge it. Like, oh yeah, that could have been holding on to that story in there. But don't try to add to it. Don't try to fixate on it and psychoanalyze it. Just like, oh, interesting. And then move on to just feeling it. A lot of the times when an emotion comes up, we add that storyline to it. We keep ourselves from completing the cycle, and we may even add more pain. Or kind of like lodge that emotion in just a little bit deeper and not even realize what we're doing. Now bring the chin in towards the chest and feel that stretch in the back of the neck. Alright, good. Come all the way back up, unwind the legs, shake it out. And one more time on the other side. So coming up to a knee stand. Again, lifting that right leg up, around, forward, up, around, back, up, around, forward, up to the side. Now you're in your modified warrior two. Left forearm comes to left thigh. Reach that right arm up and over. Really good. Push that left forearm into that left thigh, and then you could like move around a little bit, rounding over the ball or opening up. Remember to keep the foot and the knee pressing down and dragging in. This will help you isolate into moving on that side body. Good. Come up to center. Right hand comes to right hip. Left arm reaches over. Alright, good. Taking your left hand to a block, if you have one. Planting the left hand down, about 45-degree angle, come up into half moon. And it doesn't ever have to be like perfectly graceful. In fact, it probably won't be. Okay, left knee has a small bend. Push into all four corners of the left foot. And as you do that, try to open the hips up more to the side. And then lift that right leg a little higher. Really good. And then we're going to come all the way back to where we started. Modified second warrior. And then we're going to wrap that left leg around the right leg. Feet come out to the side. And like I said before, you could use a block or a bolster to sit back on if it's too intense. Coming all the way down, okay? All right. Remember to always listen to your body. Your body's safety and health is more important than any dumb yoga pose. Okay. kind of settling in. Now notice which heel you sat more towards. And see if you can move your sit bones a little more towards the middle. And just notice if that changes the stretch a little bit. Good, planting that left hand down, right arm comes up and over. Switch sides. Come back to center. Okay, and we're gonna walk the hands forward. Just allowing whatever to be there. So one of the mantras I'll say to myself when I feel an emotion coming on that I don't really like, it might be fear or just, grief is a common emotion for me lately. And fear, grief and fear are like the two I'm working through with the most. And it's like, instead of trying to fix it, it's fine to feel those things. It's perfectly fine. And I'll tell myself instead, feeling is healing. Reminding myself that feeling it is actually what will help me move that emotion through me and move on from it, rather than pushing it away. So another thing you could say is don't push away, but don't grip either. Don't add that storyline to it. Just allow it to be there. So feeling is healing. Don't grip, don't push away. Just allow that feeling to flow through the body and be whatever it is. Be there as long as it needs. It doesn't need to move quickly. It doesn't need to, okay, I'm feeling it, now hurry up. The feeling will be felt for as long as it needs to be felt before it can be released. So the longer you stay with it, the more it will release and let go. Maybe pull that chin into the chest. Roll the head around a little bit. Really good. And then come back to center. Bring legs out in front. Shake it out. And you're welcome to end this practice with a Shavasana. I am just going to end it with a small meditation. So you could pause right now and lay down and do your little Shavasana and come back. If you have a bolster or a blanket and you want to start the meditation now, grab that. Really good. And then get into a nice comfortable seat. Close the eyes. And just start to track whatever is happening internally, noticing the difference from the beginning, from the middle, to now. Notice if maybe the mind is a little bit more settled and it's letting you actually feel what's happening. And if it's not and it's still racing, that's okay too. It's all about practicing developing this meditative mind so that we can actually be present and feel whatever is coming up at that moment. Just continue to follow the breath in and out of the body and allowing whatever is there, whatever is showing up is perfectly fine. And then as the mind starts to wander again, just pull it back into the breath. Really good. Now take the hands over the heart. Really feel your heart and what your heart's desires are. Feel the love within your body. yourself some compassion for being brave enough and kind enough to yourself to allow yourself to actually feel whatever's in there. Go ahead and bow to yourself for showing up today. Thank you for sharing your practice with me. I hope that kind of helped you dig in a little bit, and just remember that you can use that anytime. You could sit down at any point and do a little meditation just like we just did and feel whatever is happening. And then as you do other yoga practices, remember to kind of apply some of that principle into your class. Like, instead of going down that rabbit hole of the mind, remember to stay centered in the body and just kind of feel whatever is there. I hope you enjoyed this class. If you did, please like and subscribe. Of course, it helps out a lot, but no pressure. Have a great day.